It's Thursday night and we're back. It is Immortal Shadows with your favorite paranormal crew, Three's Company and 1Z. So thank you everybody for tuning in tonight for Immortal Shadows, where we are going through the book of Revelation. Hey, Dustin, I see you in chat, buddy. And Bethany might be up here with me tonight. We'll see what she has going on. So welcome everybody to Thursday night's show. And we're going to wait here just a minute and let some folks hop in chat before we really get things kicked off here tonight. We are getting close to the halfway point in the book of Revelation. I did send her a link, Dustin. I didn't forget this time. like last night. I did send it to her. But you should send it to her anyway. Yeah, I had my unicorn fluff on my mind. Actually, rabid zombie unicorns that ride rainbows and destroy people, Dustin. Ride rainbow farts and destroy people. That's what's going to happen in the zombie apocalypse. So yeah, we're almost to the halfway point in the book of Revelation. So we're about to start getting into some of the more controversial parts as far as interpretations go. So we'll be dealing with some cool stuff here in the weeks to come. Chapter 10 is going to kind of set the stage for the next phase of the book. So we look forward to getting into that tonight. Tomorrow, Dustin will be spearheading Haunted and Beyond. What time is that going to be, Dustin? I didn't look at, well, I looked on StreamYard, but I don't remember what the time said, and I want to be sure that I get it right. About what time you're going live tomorrow. Well, while I'm waiting for him to send me that. If you missed Southern Discomfort, we just wrapped up our series on the Necronomicon. All those are available on the channel for you to go and watch. It was a pretty cool series. We talked a lot about Lovecraft and his influence, a lot of his stories, the Necronomicon, his movies. So we had a lot of fun doing that. Okay, tomorrow's show, 12 Central, 1 Eastern. So those of you who are available, please come and hang out. I will not be able to be there. I'll be tied up at work. So I will miss out on all the fun tomorrow. So, bummer. Oh, what, Dustin? Dustin got us a new toy, a new item for the channel, a drone. Oh, we'll be able to make some cool videos with that. I can't wait to see what you have planned with a drone, Dustin. I can think of what I would do with a drone. So I'm pretty sure it's similar to what you would do with a drone. So that being said, I can't wait to see what you're gonna come up with that. That's gonna be fun and cool all at the same time. Oh yeah, I know, lots and lots, right? Good stuff, man. Very cool. Well, while we are still hanging out here before we get kicked off, just a couple more announcements. Yesterday, let me make sure I can pull up the picture that I want to pull up. Yesterday was the 7th of the month, and so that always means a new issue of my Southern Discomfort series that I do on Godless is now available. This one is called Phantom War, and it's really different than anything that I have done before in the past. This one is an epic horror fantasy story. It's written kind of in the style of Homer's epics, the Iliad and the Odyssey, but more modern language, fantasy setting, very bloody, very violent, lots of creatures in it. It is about the man with broken white wings who is traveling through a valley full of monsters and demons and creatures, fighting his way to get to his beloved, the girl with black wings, at their sacred willow tree. And he has happened to travel through the valley because his wings are broken and he is not able to fly and meet her. And the last foe that he encounters is the dragon Abaddon, who destroyed his village. And this particular story, as I mentioned on last night's show, is very dear to me. This one is a metaphor for what I went through in overcoming my addiction. As I said last night, it was a story that I wrote actually while I was in rehab, that I wrote for Bethany. So this story is dedicated to her. It is a, I don't know if Dustin, horror, love story. I don't know. It's fantasy. It's got creatures, some scary looking creatures, lots of creature violence, but it's also very raw and deep and emotional. It hits. Let's just say this story hits on all levels, and it's definitely, if there's anything of mine that you should read, it is that story, and you get a lot of bang for your buck, or half a buck, on Godless. Like, each story is only 50 cents. This story is close to 15,000 words long, so it's pretty much a novelette that you can get for just 50 cents there on Godless. So check that one out. Hey, Bud Files, glad that you're here hanging out with us on Thursday night as we're getting ready to hop into the book of Revelation. And then let me just kind of give y'all some more updates. Once I get the okay from the publisher and the finalized copy, I will be sharing the cover of my new book that I have dropping in March as well. It takes place in my Theodosia Tetramet universe. Yeah, horror romance, sort of. But it's not like horror romance like Twilight. It's nothing. It's not glimmering vampires. It's a little more raw and gritty. Actually, a lot more raw and gritty. I shouldn't say a little more. A lot more raw and gritty. So, Dustin, the drone follows you as you walk or drive. It's like it's chasing you. Really. Your drone is chasing you, pretty much, is what you're saying. Oh, and thanks for posting that link in there, Dustin, on the one I did on the Haunted Highway. Very cool. Yeah, once and I can't wait to show y'all this cover. It is so stinking awesome. The book has to do, it takes place in my Theodosia Tetramet universe. And for those of you who aren't familiar, y'all know, see my haunted doll Theo back there. She was the inspiration to my Dreadful Death series that the last book came out this past summer. And so this whole universe that I have created around her, the Dreadful Death series takes place in the 1800s. This one coming out takes place in the 1990s, once the cult has fully developed. And it is basically, if those of you who like found footage horror movies are going to love this one. It is found footage horror. It's about these 12-year-old kids that find some VHS tapes in an old creepy man's trash can, and they begin to view these cursed tapes, and they start to realize that all of the urban legends that they heard growing up may possibly be true. So they decide to go and start investigating and trying to figure out and find what's on the tapes. And it leads to some very disastrous results. It has a coming of age horror feel to it, like It or Stand By Me, except it's really, really dark. So I'll be able to tell y'all more about that as it gets closer to March and we get that cover dropped and stuff. So that's going to be fun. I can't wait to show that to y'all. Just going through chat, making sure I hadn't missed anything, missed anybody. Dustin, has Bethany said anything to you? She hadn't responded to me yet. I don't know if she's coming on or not. So if she's not coming on, I'm going to go ahead and we will hop into the teaching part for tonight. I'm going to text her real quick. And see what she says. Now, a couple things before we get into the topic for tonight in the book of Revelation. One thing to remember is that this book is full of symbolism. Okay, she's not going to make it. She's not going to be able to hop on tonight. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. So one of the things to remember when we're looking at the book of Revelation is this book is symbolic. It's based on visions. We can't press anything in this book literalistically. Especially the numbers, right? The numbers are symbolic. Everything has a more overarching, broad meaning and is meant to stand as a representation of something else. And so tonight, what we're going to get into in chapter 10, we're going to look at three things out of that chapter tonight. There is a mention of a mighty angel, and we're going to look at this angel and talk about this angel's identity. There's also a little scroll that is mentioned. So we're going to talk about the significance of that little scroll. And there is mentioned in there the mysterious 7 thunders that are told to be sealed up and not mentioned. So chapter 10 and 11, the first part of 11. Okay, if y'all remember when we were doing the 7 seals, right, Dustin? I'm not going to make my 7 seal joke because Bethany's not here for me to annoy her. But when we looked at the 7 seals, if you remember, between the 6th seal and the 7th seal, there was this interlude in the text. It didn't just jump from the breaking of the 6th seal to the 7th seal. There was this interlude. There were more things talked about. And then the 7th seal. Well, we have the same thing here with the trumpets. We looked at the 6th trumpet last time. Now we've got this another kind of parenthetical section here before the sounding of the 7th trumpet. So remember too, with the book of Revelation, this, when we see, and this happened next, or then this, and then this, it's not meant to be taken in chronological order. This is just the order that John saw the visions. So what we see in chapter 10 and 11 is not taking place after the 6th trumpet. what 10 and 11 are showing. Okay, so the sixth trumpet, the trumpets, if you remember what we've been talking about, is the trumpet judgments are specifically for the wicked. All right, it is God's answer to the saints' prayers for vindication. Now, what happens in this parenthetical section? All right, we're moving off of the focus of the judgments that are going on in the church age. And remember, everything in the book of Revelation, the last days started with the death and resurrection of Christ. We've been in the last days since then. The mystery that was sealed in Daniel about the end times was opened up with the death and resurrection of Christ. And so all of these things happening in the book of Revelation have already started to happen. They're ongoing, and they will continue to happen until the end of the age. So what John is switching to now in the vision is he's getting the focus off of the judgment, and then he's going to show the contrast or the relationship of what's going on between the saints and then those who are persecuting them. And we're going to see this this idea is kicked off right here in chapter 10 to start to set up the dichotomy between the relationship between the church that John is talking about, the saints, and those who are persecuting God's people. Hey, PW, welcome. Glad you are here. It's okay. That's easy to do, losing track of time. Don't worry about it. We are just glad that you are here with us. So thank you so much for joining us. And you're just in time, too, because we are just about to get into chapter 10 in the book of Revelation. Give me 1 minute. I'm going to go ahead and flip to it. And I'm reading out of the New American Standard Bible translation. So, chapter 10, John writes, and remember, this is just after the sixth trumpet, and we're getting into that parenthetical section. Yeah, Dustin, exactly. Jesus did say that he is going to come as a thief. There's no set date. And when we actually, when we look at a lot of eschatology, and eschatology, that's just a fancy theological word for the doctrine of the end times. There are a lot of significant scholars that believe all of these signs have already been fulfilled, right? That the main sign that was to be fulfilled before the second coming could happen was the destruction of the temple in 70 AD. And that sign has been fulfilled. Jesus also said the gospel will be preached to all nations, and then the end will come. And so we don't know when that is going to happen. And Jesus says, no man knows the days or the hour. The Father has set those dates. And so what we're seeing in the book of Revelation, all of this in this book is not something that is waiting for a future time. The only thing waiting for a future time as you go on, as we'll see, is the second coming of Christ. That's what all these cycles of judgments, right? You have the bowls, and then the seals, and then the seventh seal ended with the coming of Christ. The trumpets kind of recapitulate the judgments, but focus on a different aspect of them. And we'll see the seventh trumpet sound, and it ends with the second coming of Christ. It's the same thing with the bowls. They focus on a different aspect of the judgment and end with the second coming of Christ. So all of the visions in this book are just different ways of looking at the judgments, the perseverance of the saints, and the second coming of Christ, and the defeat of Satan. All of these visions are just kind of different viewpoints on what that looks like. So this is what I've been preaching from the very beginning when we're talking about the book of Revelation. Like, this isn't for a future date. Like, this is ongoing now. and that is the modern view of Revelation scholars. All right, so let's get into this. Hey, Kenneth, thanks for coming and hanging out with us tonight. Thank you for being here. I know Thursday nights, a lot of times I have trouble keeping up with the chat because I get so focused on the teaching part. But I am going to do better. I'm going to keep taking little breaks to make sure that I can look in the chat and see any new folks are coming in, or see if any questions are raised. So I'm going to be keeping up with that tonight as best as I can. Usually Bethany, when she's here, she kind of helps me with that. But I'm soloing it tonight, so I'm going to be probably taking little short breaks and hopping and looking and make sure I'm not missing anything. So here we have Revelation 10:1. I saw another strong angel coming down out of heaven, clothed with a cloud, and the rainbow was up on his head, and his face was like the sun, and his feet like pillars of fire. And he had in his hand a little book which was open. He placed his right foot on the sea and his left foot on the land. And he cried out with a loud voice, as when a lion roars, and when he has cried out, the seven peals of thunder utter their voices. We're going to stop there. There's been debate about who this angel is, because this particular angel is different than any other that has been mentioned thus far in the book of Revelation. All right. And there have been some strong, awesome angels that we have looked at, but this one is set apart. This is a different, strong angel. Now, some have said that this could be Michael the Archangel. Some have said, it's maybe a different breed of angel that is mentioned in the book of Enoch. And y'all know what a huge fan I am of the book of Enoch. And so as much as I would love to believe that this is an angel mentioned from the book of Enoch, because there are Enochian influences in Revelation as elsewhere in the New Testament. However, because of the phrases and the symbolism that is used, this is not Michael the Archangel, and this is not Enochian angel mentioned from the book of Enoch. Let's look at some of these descriptions, and this is a test to see how much y'all have been paying attention throughout this entire series. Listen to some of this description. First of all, this angel is coming out of heaven, clothed with a cloud. That should ring a bell. And John says, and the rainbow was upon his head. All right, in the Greek, New American Standard Bible is translating this right. There is an article before rainbow specifying the rainbow. Where did we see a rainbow at when we were going through the book of Revelation earlier? Chapter 4. Where was that rainbow at? It was around the throne of God. So John has taken us back to the throne room there. He says he sees the rainbow was upon his head. His face was like a sun, and his feet like pillars of fire. Okay, y'all. Let's go back to Revelation chapter 1. Do you recognize this imagery? This is some of the same stuff that was used to describe the appearance of Jesus. So this mighty angel here is a representation of Jesus. He's the strong angel, and the fact that he has the rainbow around his head, that rainbow around the throne of God that represented his sovereignty and rule over all creation. The prominent scholars of the book of Revelation say, yes, this angel is a depiction of Christ and what John is doing here. Okay, this takes us back to the Old Testament. Now, Some of you may be familiar with this concept of the Old Testament. If you've read any of some of the stories in Genesis and elsewhere in the Old Testament, some of the ones that really kind of focus on the history of Israel, you remember the phrase the angel of Yahweh or the angel of the Lord? In the Old Testament, it was this divine angel that was the um, absolute representation of God on earth. This angel, when it spoke the words of the Lord to whoever it was communicating to. So the angel of Yahweh in the Old Testament was basically a manifestation of God himself sent to communicate something or to carry out a task. And scholars say that what we have here are images of Christ pre-incarnate, and so John is playing off of this angel of the Lord imagery that was used in the Old Testament, which was a representation of Christ. He's taking that and drawing it into the New Testament and using this imagery here. This is meant to show the angel of the Lord. This is a representation of Jesus himself. And we also see that with the feet, and then a book is given to him. And he places his right foot on the sea and his left foot on the land. Again, this splitting of sea and land, this is a representation of this angel's sovereignty over all creation, which is another thing that points to this being the image and the angel of the Lord as an image of Christ. And he cries out with a loud voice as a lion who roars. This imagery of the lion, going back to Revelation chapter 5, John talks about the lion of the tribe of Judah is being referred to in Revelation 5 as a lamb who was slain. So all of these imageries here are just pointing us back to what was going on earlier in the book as a representation of Jesus here in this passage. And it gets better. There's 7 peals of thunder that happened. And then in verse 4, it says, when the 7 peals of thunder had spoken, I was about to write, and I heard a voice from heaven saying, seal up the things which the 7 peals of thunder have spoken, and do not write them down. Now, one of the things I like about this is just the mystery, and scholars have been just in awe of this. Like, what were the 7 thunders? What did they say? What was this about? Now, I had some fun with this verse. For those of you who are familiar with the Southern Discomfort series, my story for December that came out at the end of 2023 was called A Kaiju for Christmas. And it was a very fun one. Dustin, you read that one, didn't you? The Kaiju for Christmas story. I think I sent that one to you. I'll wait for you to respond, but I'm almost positive I did. Yes. Okay. Now, in that story, all right, it is about this guy. It's very Lovecraftian in nature. You will see Lovecraft influences in some of my stories. And so the guy was this archaeologist, and he ended up finding a scroll of what the 7 thunders said. And I had this backstory developed. Somehow it got written down. John, somehow he maybe told somebody, or the word leaked, and the 7 thunders were written down. And Dr. Constantine in my story got a hold of this ancient document of the 7 thunders, and he read it. And the revelation of it was so great that it made him go insane, crazy. And so the story is the guy crazy, or is he right? Well, in what's prophesied in my story in the Seven Thunders, it does come true, and all of these giant kaiju start coming on the earth and just wreaking havoc. So it's like dark, twisted horror with Godzilla style monsters. So if that is your cup of tea, that one is available on Godless too. A Kaiju for Christmas, only 50 cents. That one's been one of my most loved stories so far. So you can't go wrong with that one. So I've been fascinated by this whole mystery of the Seven Thunders. And of course, I took some liberty. It's fiction. I do have to mention that because you always have idiots out there. I get it all the time that will try to take the stuff that I write and read into it and say all kinds of stuff about what they think that they know that I believe and stuff. So no, I don't think the Seven Thunders were actually kaiju monsters coming. It's called artistic liberty. It's called fiction writing. It's called just making crap up to make a story, people. I have to say that to my haters who stalk me because I do have them. Just having a little fun. But yeah, just very intrigued with this idea of the Seven Thunders, and scholars are as well. And there's been debate about what was the Seven Thunders and why were they sealed up. The whole idea of thunder, when we look at the Old Testament, Dustin, I got Thunderstruck rolling through my head right now by AC/DC. That would be cool, man. See, look, if we did have the Seven Thunders to go through, Dustin, we could use something with Thunderstruck. Maybe we need to make a Thunderstruck video, but we probably have to pay like so much money to be able to use a clip of that on YouTube. But yeah, now I got Thunderstruck in my head right now. But the Seven Thunders, scholars have debated thunders being a sign of judgment. You see that in the Old Testament at Mount Sinai when the law was given. You see this mentioned in the Psalms too. David talks about thunders and judgments and things like that. So they definitely say this was more judgments. No doubt about that. These were more judgments. They were sealed up. And some scholars say, well, it's sealed up. They are going to happen. John just wasn't allowed to write them down. And then you have the question as to why. All right, we go back to the book of Daniel. God tells Daniel, the angel tells Daniel to seal up these things because they are for a time yet to come. The book of Revelation is the unsealing of all of the things that Daniel was told to seal up. But here, John, he's having the same thing happen to him that happened to Daniel. There's a part of his message that he is called to seal up and not write down. There is a view, and this is the one that I lean towards. And this is the one that is espoused in the New International Greek Text Commentary on the book of Revelation. A lot of scholars believe that the Seven Thunders were sealed up because the judgments were almost repetitive. And it was kind of like God saying, you know what? Let's not talk about the thunders. Just seal it up. It's going to be the same thing. I've given the seals. I've given the trumpets. I'm given the bowls. And so if they're not going to be warned by the seals and the trumpets and the bowls, then they're not going to listen to the thunders. And so a lot of scholars think that it was would have been the same type of cycle of judgment, and they're sealed up. And God's not going through them because he is speeding the process up along for the second coming of Christ. Now, however, I still would like to know, hopefully one day, when the end comes and all knowledge is revealed, or maybe know what those 7 thunders were. Let me look in chat, make sure I haven't missed anything. Okay, Dustin. Yeah, you film a thunder, put some heavy metal music. All right. And we do that. Speaking, this is Zeke chasing a rabbit. Hey, Triple X lady. All right. Speaking of Thunderstruck, have y'all all heard the Steven Seagal's version when they do Thunderstruck on the banjo? And they have like the bluegrass version of it. If y'all haven't seen that by the Steven Seagals, and yes, it's a play off of Steven Seagal. If y'all haven't seen that video, check it out. It's so amazing watching them play Thunderstruck on the banjo and bluegrass style. It's really, really cool. Dustin, have you seen that one yet? With them on the banjos and mandolin and stuff playing Thunderstruck. If you haven't, you got to check that one out. But this angel, all right? Okay, you have seen it, Dustin. Cool. So this angel, we have the angel mentioned again in verse 5. Then the angel whom I saw standing on the sea and on the land lifted up his right hand to heaven and swore by him who lives forever and ever, who created heavens and the earth and all the things in it. And it goes on to talk about the 7th angel he's about to sound when the mystery of God is finished, as he preached to his servants, the prophets. So the idea here is what's about to happen. The mystery is revealed, and that is the truth of the gospel, the truth of the message of this book as well, that mystery that was sealed up in Daniel, of what I was talking about earlier. And the gospel, the mystery of God is finished, as he preached to his servants, the prophet. So it's all been revealed. What God has intended to reveal, it is complete, is what this is saying. Now, remember how we just read about this angel was holding a little book. We're going to get into that here. Again, it's going to show back up in verse 8. Then the voice which I heard from heaven, I heard again speaking with me and saying, go take the book which is open in the hand of the angel who stands on the sea and on the land. So I went to the angel, telling him to give me the little book. We'll stop there. Let's go back to Revelation chapter 4 and 5. Okay, let's look at the similarities that are going on here. So for those of you who've been paying attention, maybe you've already seen it. Maybe you're already connecting the dots. Hey, Poker, welcome to the chat. Glad that you are here with us. Thank you. You go back to Revelation 4, right? We have the throne room vision, and there's this sealed scroll. And what happens? John weeps, all of heaven and earth weeping. They can't find anybody worthy to open the scroll. However, the elder tells him, don't weep. Behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the Lamb who was slain, he's worthy to open the scroll. And John sees this lamb with 7 horns, 7 eyes, standing, has been slain, takes the scroll and is able to open it. So you see the similarity of what's going on here. Revelation chapter 5, we have Christ with a scroll. Here again, we have this mighty angel, which is a representation of Christ. He has a little book, and he is giving it to John. So scholars have tried to notice the similarities here in this passage, and some say, this is just basically reiterating everything that happened in chapter 5. Now, there are some strong points. There are a lot of similarities with the imagery here. However, the Greek word that John uses for scroll in Revelation 5 and elsewhere in the book of Revelation, the word he uses here for little book is a different Greek word. And he only uses it this one time in the book of Revelation. So that is significant. That means there has to be some sort of difference here that John is trying to communicate. So this angel who represents Christ takes this little book and he gives it to the apostle John. And he says to him, "Take it and eat, and it will make your stomach bitter, but in your mouth it will be sweet as honey." I took the little book out of the angel's hand and ate it, and in my mouth it was as sweet as honey. And when I had eaten it, my stomach was made bitter. And they said to me, "You must prophesy again concerning many peoples and nations and tongues and kings." So let's talk about what's going on here for just a minute, and this will wrap us up with the teaching for tonight. The little book given by the angel. It's different in the sense that what the scroll in chapter 5 was unfolding, right? It was all of the seal judgments. It represented the sovereignty of God, his plan and will for creation. And the little book, it's playing off of that imagery. But the message of the little book is just for this little theological section that we have going on here in this parenthetical expression, and then what is to come later in the rest of these visions of what John is going to have to tell. And this is also kind of a recapitulation of John's commissioning to do what he does. Like this imagery here of taking this little book and eating it, this is straight from the imagery in the book of Ezekiel. When Ezekiel is commissioned as a prophet, he is given a scroll to eat, and it tastes sweet. And the symbolism here, prophets eating the scroll, and with John eating this little book, it is symbolic of them taking the words of God, putting it in their mouth, and now having God's word in their mouth, they go out and speak his message. It symbolizes that their prophetic authority came from God himself. The symbolism here is to show that John's apostolic and prophetic authority in speaking this message of the book of Revelation and these visions has come from God himself. He's divinely commissioned to do this, to speak these things, to write down these visions, and to communicate this message. And the idea of it being sweet represents the goodness of God's word and the grace and life that the message of the gospel gives. Hey, Tales Told in the Dark, welcome to the chat. Glad that you are here hanging out with us. Now, John goes on to say that it was sweet in his mouth, but once he swallowed it and ate it, it hurt his stomach and it was bitter. And this goes to show I'm trying to think of the word I want to use here. It's the contrast. It's this tension here with John delivering his message. Like, yes, on one hand, this message of the gospel is beautiful and sweet in its grace and redemption and forgiveness. Yet on the other hand, it is a hard message to preach because it does have the idea of judgment, and that especially for those in the book of Revelation who were persecuting the church, that judgment is coming, and judgment is never an easy message to deliver. And this was John's idea and way of saying that, it is this message to preach of all this judgment coming is hard, but it's necessary because God is just, and he is going to punish those who were persecuting his church. Like, God is not going to let evil have the last word, and evil may go on for a season, but it will all be brought into the light. Everything will be held into account. And that is the idea of this message. And similar with the book of Ezekiel, God says that I do not delight in the death of the wicked. I want them to turn away from their sin and unrighteousness and turn to me so that I can give them life, so that they can know love, that they can know fulfillment and freedom. And this is the same thing here. Like, John is not delighting that he has to deliver this message of judgment. He wants all to repent, all to trust Christ, all to be able to partake in this life and grace that he has found in Jesus. And so this is what's going on here. All right, John, he's got this commission. It's showing his prophetic authority that he's going to go. He's going to speak these things about many nations and kings. All right, this is a whole panoramic view of the whole end times, from the death and resurrection of Christ all the way to his second coming. So John's word here, this is for all people of all times, and what he's talking about here. So that's what we're going to see moving forward, right? When we get to the beast coming out of the sea, when we get to the false prophet, when we get to the whore of Babylon, right? All of these symbols, they represent something bigger. And we're going to talk about what that bigger picture is as we get down the road into these chapters. So a lot of the real interesting, hotly debated stuff is coming up. All right. Next week, we're going to get into the two supernatural witnesses. And who are they, right? You look at your TV screen and your TV preachers and your Left Behind movies, and they will have you believe that Moses and Elijah are actually going to come back down from heaven, and they're going to be performing all these signs and miracles. Is that the case? We're going to study that, and we're going to be critical and look at that viewpoint and see if it holds up to what John is saying in these passages. Then we're going to look at the beast coming out of the sea. Is this talking about a literal antichrist, or is it a representation of something more? The false prophet, is it talking about a literal false prophet, or is there a bigger symbolism here? So those are all of the stuff, that highly debated stuff, that is going to be upcoming here on Immortal Shadows over the next couple months. Hey, AAP, welcome to the chat. Glad that you are here with us. See if I missed anybody else. I think I said hello to everybody. So that wraps up our teaching part tonight. That's the whole chapter of Revelation chapter 10. Next week on Immortal Shadows in chapter 11, we will get to those two supernatural witnesses that John draws his imagery from the book of Zechariah. So we're going to look at how he uses that imagery and talk about the proper interpretation of that. So you don't want to miss Immortal Shadows over the next several weeks, right? Because we're going to get in, like I said, we're going to get into the two supernatural witnesses. Let me see what else we got. What else do we have coming up in Revelation over the next month that we'll be getting into? Let me get back. Hold on 1 second. I don't want to screw the order up. Yeah. So, yeah, chapter 11, we're going to be looking at those two supernatural witnesses. Chapter 12, we have the imagery of the woman, the child, and the great dragon. And then chapter 13, we have the beast and the false prophet. So over the next month for Immortal Shadows, you don't want to miss these shows, because we're talking about those hotly debated topics, and I'm going to be giving you views that are very prevalent among scholars, but are radically different than what is being spouted out there on Christian fiction and spouted out there on all of your popular TV shows and popular TV preachers. All right. That's the thing. That's why we do these shows. Because, see, a lot of the stuff that's preached out there that is popular in the pulpits of the United States, it's a far cry from what Bible scholars are teaching, and especially with the book of Revelation. You know why all of that other stuff is so popular? Is because it's sensationalized, because it sells. I mean, who would not? Doesn't that sound cool? Yeah, Moses and Elijah are going to come down from heaven. Yeah, there's going to be this literal dragon, or there's going to be this literal antichrist and this literal false prophet, and they're going to rule the world. And then they're going to make people get a real mark on their hand and on their forehead. I mean, yeah, that sounds scary. I mean, as an author, I'm like, yeah, man, that makes some great story. But we're gonna look and see if that's what John really means. Is that what he's really getting at here, or is this being misinterpreted? So that's all coming up over the next several weeks for Immortal Shadows. So don't want to miss Thursday nights. Thank you, Triple X Lady. Hey, Rock Your Colors. Welcome. Glad that you are here in the chat with us. We just wrapped up the teaching on Revelation 10 about the mighty angel and the scroll and the seven thunders. So I hope you can go back and watch and catch that. And I was just talking about what we've got coming up over the next several weeks for this show. Tuesday night for Southern Discomfort. This upcoming week, next Tuesday, Southern Discomfort show. Dustin, that is going to be the 1-year anniversary for the Southern Discomfort show. Lord willing, okay, if I don't have to work late, I would plan on trying to be out and about and doing an investigation Tuesday night for our 1-year Southern Discomfort anniversary. So if something happens where I can't, I don't know what in the world I'm going to do. I have to figure it out, Dustin. Dustin, you got to help me come up with a backup plan. You got to come up with a backup plan. So we'll see what's going to happen for Southern Discomfort. Oh, it's good to meet you too, Tam Tam. Thank you. Thank you. So yeah. But don't forget, we still got one more show for the week. That is tomorrow's show during the day with Dustin spearheading Haunted and Beyond at 12 Central, 1 Eastern. So if y'all are around, come tune in for that. Come show your support for Dustin. Any particular topic tomorrow, Dustin? Okay. Read comments. Okay, let me go back. I must have missed something. What am I looking for, Dustin? Oh, okay. I see it. Yes, I'm going to mention that. I'll mention the book again. But before I do that, Dustin, what any topic of discussion for tomorrow for the show? I want to make sure I put it out there if you do have any particular thing that you're going to be talking about tomorrow. PW, you fell out of bed? PW, what's wrong with you? Somebody tie your shoestrings together, PW? why I'm waiting for oh, okay. So tomorrow doesn't say possible location. And oh, Tanya's gonna be on there. Okay, sweet. Yeah, Tanya will be on. So y'all come on. Y'all get to see Tanya. Come hang out with Dustin and Tanya tomorrow. That'll be fun. I'm gonna try. I'm not sure where I'm gonna be at during the time. I don't know tomorrow if I'm gonna be around here. If I have to go somewhere far away for work and stuff tomorrow, but I'm gonna try to tune in and watch if I can. If we're like traveling on the road, um, hopefully I can watch. But for those of you who missed the announcements at the beginning of the show, Southern Discomfort is not only a show that I do here on the channel, but it is also a monthly story series that I do for a publisher called Godless. And Southern Discomfort is in its second season right now, and all of the stories are only 50 cents. And um, it's kind of like Tales from the Crypt meets Twilight Zone with a little bit of a Southern flair. And each story is different. Like it's not ongoing story that builds. It's just like each one is different. It's like what Tales from the Crypt was. You know, each episode is something different. That's how Southern Discomfort is. My story that dropped yesterday for Southern Discomfort. This one is called Phantom War. And it is vastly different than anything I have done thus far. I write a lot of different horror stories in every subgenre of horror that you can think of. I also have several different styles that I write in, and this is a style that I have not released yet. So this is my first story in this particular style. Phantom War is written like an epic of Homer's Iliad and the Odyssey, but in more modern language. And it has a definite type of fantasy tone to it, but it's also very, very dark. And it's bloody and it's violent. And there are some gruesome creatures in this story. And this one follows the man with broken white wings as he has to travel through the valley. And he's traveling through the valley to be reunited with his love, the girl with the black wings, at their sacred willow tree. And he can't fly to get to her because his wings are broken. And the only way to their tree is through this valley. So he has to go through it. And at the end, he has to face the dragon Abaddon, who destroyed their village, killed their children, just wreaked so much havoc on their life. And this particular story is a metaphor for my struggle with and overcoming an alcohol addiction. I wrote this story while I was in rehab. And it was kind of one of those things where I wasn't sure how I was going to be able to write. We always joke about Stephen King being a better author when he was coked up and an alcoholic. And so I was really kind of wondering if I would still be able to write. Would I still want to write? So while I was in rehab, I ended up grabbing a notebook and a pen, and I just started writing this story. I wanted to write something that was a metaphor about this war that I was in, and I wanted it to inspire people. And also, the creatures and the demons that you will read about in this story are basically things and creatures that I dreamed while I was detoxing, and I would write my dreams down because I was like, oh man, this would make something cool for a a story. And so I ended up using them in Phantom War. And this is also a story about Bethany and I. She stood by my side through the entire thing. And so this story is dedicated to her. So you get a real raw inside look at the state of my heart and soul in this book. So it's only 50 cents on Godless. Like I said, you get a lot of bang for your half a buck. It's almost 15,000 word story, so it's pretty much like a novelette. And you know, I put these stories cheap, especially this one. I could have charged more for it, but I didn't want to, because I want as many people to read this as possible. Hey, Spotted Ghost, welcome. Spotted Ghost, y'all, makes some of the most awesome paranormal investigating apps. If you have not downloaded his apps and you are a paranormal investigator, what are you waiting for? You need to get on that and rectify that and remedy it. Because Spotted Ghost, I do not, other than I use necrophonics, but other than that, I don't, if it's not Spotted Ghost, I am not using it. So we cannot recommend his stuff enough. Absolutely. We do support Spotted Ghost for sure. So, but yeah, that was, that's what I wanted to share with that story, Phantom War. I do have a new book coming out closer to March. I'll reveal the cover to y'all and talk more about that as it comes. But right now, I'm really fixated on Phantom War. I want to get that out there and hope that it can inspire and encourage anybody who has gone through an addiction, who may be currently in the middle of struggling with one, or if you have family members or friends who may be struggling with that as well. So that's just a look into my heart and soul and what I went through and what I overcome. And I just wanted to write it to inspire people, but also make a story with some cool monsters and blood and guts in it as well, because I am a horror author. So that's out there on Godless for only 50 cents. Trying to think if I'm leaving anything else out as far as announcements go. I think we've got everything covered. For tomorrow's show, 12 Central, 1 Eastern, Dustin is spearheading Haunted and Beyonds. Tanya will be up there. Tuesday night is going to be 1 year anniversary of Southern Discomfort. And then next Thursday night, we'll be back in Revelation chapter 11, looking at the two supernatural witnesses. Thank you, Rock Your Colors. You're very welcome. I'm gonna put that link for the Southern Discomfort story in there for Phantom War, just in case anybody wants it, or in case you want to share it with somebody who you think it might inspire. And put it in there real quick. All right, it should be coming up. All right, Spotty Ghost, have a good one, man. Good, Dustin. I'm glad you'll be on with me. Bethany is gonna be scarce here. She's got a lot of school stuff going on. the rest of this month and all throughout March. So she's going to pop in when she can. But hopefully April, she thinks things are going to slow down a little bit, and she will be back on more regularly in April. So if you wonder why she may be scarce here over the next 6 weeks, that is why. My beautiful bride-to-be just has so much going on, and she's trying to finish up school. So, but she still will come in when she can to tell everybody hello. And see, Dustin, she can't stay away. She loves it when you and I annoy her. It's like she's a glutton for punishment. So she won't be able to stay away long. And she likes to dish it out too. That'll be the other thing that she won't be able to keep away from. She'll want to come on and dish something out, say something smart out, like make fun of me about something. So she will be here when she can. But we're going to go ahead and wrap up the show for tonight, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, everybody in chat. Thank you for listening and tuning in and just being there and supporting us and supporting the channel. It really goes a long way, and it means a lot to us, and it's very encouraging. And I hope that y'all are getting a lot of new information and what we're sharing on the shows, and hope that it's beneficial, and we will continue to provide good content. And I have not forgotten about the sock puppets. All right. The sock puppets will be making an appearance here soon. Actually, we may have the sock puppets on for the 1-year anniversary for Southern Discomfort. How about that, Dustin? May bring them back for that. So stay tuned for that. We may have the sock puppets back on the channel. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Don't forget, we always play an inspirational video at the end of each show. So hang around for that. I'm going to get that queued up here and ready to go. So we love y'all. Thank you for your support. Be sure to come back and join us tomorrow at 12 Central, 1 Eastern, as Dustin and Tanya will be on. Good night, everybody.
Is this what giving up feels like? I don't know. Tell me, have I lost my mind? Nowhere to go, so far from home. Is this what giving up feels like? I don't know. Tell me, have I lost my mind? So I break the